The first time Tom Daniels walked into the polished glass lobby of Harrington Enterprises, nobody saw him as anything more than a worn-out single dad. His jacket was a little too old, his boots still carried the faint scuff of military service, and the way he held his daughter's hand, firm, protective, almost stubborn, seemed out of place in a building where everyone else carried briefcases and wore perfectly pressed suits. The receptionist glanced at him politely, but behind her eyes there was that flicker, "What's he doing here?" And when Tom's little girl, Emma, clutched her father's sleeve and whispered, "Daddy, why's everyone staring?" he simply squeezed her hand and whispered back, "Because they don't know us yet, honey. Let's give them time." What no one in that shiny skyscraper knew was that Tom wasn't there for charity. He wasn't there to beg for a job or a handout. He was there because a letter had arrived 2 weeks earlier. An invitation from Charles Harrington, billionaire CEO, to compete in a charity chess match against some of the brightest minds in the city. The twist? Charles had written Tom's name on that list almost as a joke. See, Tom had once made local headlines years ago, beating a state champion at a park chess table while still wearing his fatigues. The story went viral for a day, then disappeared like most internet sensations. Harrington's team thought it would be entertaining, a little spectacle. The war veteran versus the Wall Street elite. Something the cameras would love. Something that would make the crowd chuckle. And chuckle they did. When Tom walked into the grand boardroom where the event was set, men in suits whispered, women in pearls smiled politely, and a few of the younger executives smirked outright. To them, he was just a struggling single father trying to keep his dignity while surrounded by wealth and power. But Tom never looked at them. He only looked at Emma, who sat on a chair near the front, her little legs swinging nervously. "Remember," he told her softly before the first move was made, "chess is like life. You don't need to be the strongest or richest. You just need to see what others can't." The games began. One by one, the executives took their seats across from him. One by one, they leaned back in shock as Tom dismantled their strategies piece by piece. He didn't rush. He didn't gloat. He played with quiet precision, his mind working the way it had in combat years ago, anticipating moves 3, 4, sometimes 5 steps ahead. And as he played, something remarkable happened. Emma's anxious frown melted into a grin. She began clapping when her dad whispered, "Check," and the crowd, once mocking, grew hushed. The smirks faded. The whispers stopped. A kind of awe filled the room. The match was tense. Harrington was no amateur, he'd trained, he'd studied, and he wasn't used to losing. But halfway through, when Tom sacrificed his queen in what looked like a blunder, the CEO allowed himself a thin smile. He thought he had the veteran cornered. Until 10 moves later, when Tom whispered again, gentle but firm, "Checkmate." The room erupted. Not in laughter, not in ridicule, but in thunderous applause. Emma rushed into her father's arms, and Tom, who had faced real battlefields, felt his throat tighten in a way bullets never could. Charles Harrington stood up, his face pale but his expression softened. "Mr. Daniels," he said into the microphone, his voice cracking just slightly, "I invited you here for entertainment. But you've reminded us all of something far greater, that true strength isn't about wealth or status. It's about discipline, vision, and love for something bigger than yourself." And then, in front of the entire room, the billionaire did something nobody expected. He knelt to Emma's level, smiled, and said, "You must be so proud of your dad. The world could use more men like him." Emma nodded, beaming. "I already know he's the best." That night, when Tom and Emma walked out of the skyscraper, there were no smirks. No laughter. Only respect. And as they stepped into the cool night air, Emma whispered, "Daddy, I think today was one of those moments you always talk about, when kindness wins." Tom smiled, lifting her into his arms. "That's right, honey. And don't you forget, it always will. True power doesn't lie in money, appearances, or social status, it lies in vision, resilience, and the quiet strength to act with kindness, even when the world underestimates you.